So, the first major Master Duel tournament just wrapped up, and you want to get caught up to speed on how the metagame's looking. Hi, I'm Stevie Blunder, and this is how I lost $1,000 by normal summoning Analyzer.
Okay, we're on Adamantipator. It's
cranking
Adamantipator. Let's go.
So, in celebration of Master Duel's release, my good friend Swagkage decided to host a Master Duel tournament for up to 256 players, where those in Top Cut would be competing for a prize pool of $1,000. And because I had nothing better to do this weekend, I was just like, fuck it, might as well, and I took Adamantipator to the event. The tournament's format was a best of one only for 8 rounds of Swiss. It was absolutely ridiculous just seeing people fucking lose rounds to just get a maxi mollywopped on them. Top 8 would be played as a best of 3 with no siding, however. Unfortunately, Challenge decided to poop the bed during round 7 and created a bunch of impossible pairings, so they decided to cut it to top 28 in order to make it so that every X1 currently wouldn't just be gimmicked out, because there was a lot of X1s at round 7. Unfortunately, I don't have the total deck representation breakdown, but I do have top 28's total deck breakdown, which includes a lot of Zodiac, a lot of Adamantipator, 3 Tri-Brigade, and just a lot of other niche control decks that managed to slip through. Stuff like Virtual World was really powerful, Zombie World Eldritch ended up making up to the finals, Mech Knight Invoked, a favorite deck of mine, Dragon Maid was also pretty cute, and Onolmat, which managed a top cut squeeze. I'm just going to give you guys a brief rundown over the top 8 decks because those are the most relevant results that I believe we can take away from this event, starting with mine. I played this list of Adamantipator. Obviously, it's a little bit different from the deck profile that I put out a couple of days ago. However, most of the general cards still stand. You're still playing all your Koakai Meru stuff. You're still playing the proper ratios of hand traps, Adamantipator's, all that good stuff. The only changes were that I cut the really shit extenders for more blind going second cards. Cards like Lightning Storm and Forbidden Droplet. These cards proved invaluable. These cards were absolutely amazing at cracking boards as well as getting onto the play when I'm not able to go first. Overall, I would say that this is my personally defining best build for Adamantipator in Master Duel moving forward. Next, we have Tri-Brigade Zodiac. Tri-Brigade Zodiac is obviously a very, very powerful deck. It was arguably the best deck of its era when it was legal, and it definitely did show. It was a very, very powerful deck that allowed it to play through Disruption pretty easily, and it even could play through cards like Maxi, because realistically you only needed to special summon 2 or 3 times if you wanted to end on at least like a considerable board of, say, like a Dragon Lords plus Revolt. And really, overall, this is just a really powerful mid-range deck. You're able to slowly grind out your opponents. However, I do not believe that this is exactly the best mid-range deck going forward. I feel like this deck overall is just kind of like a middle-of-the-road deck, where it's not really doing the best back row, it's not really doing the best in terms of building a board, and overall is just kind of in the middle of the road, just kind of doing whatever. We have Prank Kids. This deck is goofy as shit. Obviously, you're just playing a shit ton of hand traps, you're playing a ton of ways to crack your opponent's board. I think this might have been a budget build considering all the 1-ofs and 2-ofs. Stuff like 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Twin, 1 Veiler, 2 DD Crow. But definitely what stands out to me personally is the triple skill drain. You'll notice that if you're watching some of the MBT Farfa or like Swagkage highlight VODs, there are a lot of games in this top cut that were decided by floodgates. And ooh boy, I fucking hate floodgates. Obviously, personally, I feel like this build could have been a lot more refined if the owner probably had access to a lot more, you know, credit card swiping. But definitely the bones of something extremely playable are here. Prank Kid is a deck that can weirdly play through Max C by just literally setting Pandemonium pass if you manage to open it, because you're just going to normal summon a Prank Kid, they're going to try and anticipate a Link summon, you go into Max C, and then you just are like, nah bro, I'm gonna just set Pandemonium, set a skill drain, and pass. And usually that's enough, considering that the Battle Butler but attributes itself so skill drain doesn't affect it. And yeah, overall this deck is just extremely powerful at being able to play through specifically combo-centric hand traps such as Max C or Ash Blossom, especially when you're able to just set a Prank Kid's Pandemonium and pass. Here we have Bowden Temnik. I lost to this motherfucker during round 6, which is the final round of Swiss. He was playing pure Zoo. This deck is as disgusting as you guys imagine it. It's literally just all Zoos, bunch of fucking hand traps, bunch of combo extenders, bunch of back row hate, couple extenders in the forms of like Monster Reborn and Avarice. And just overall, it's a standard zoo list. If you want to play a very, very powerful monster-centric control deck, I personally think that Zoo is really, really good at being able to, again, just sort of play that slow roll sort of game mode against combo and control decks. However, I will say that if your combo deck isn't doing something inherently unfair, such as setting up like a Scythe lock or continuously like negating everything on your opponent's field with like something like a VFD or something similar to that, I really don't think that Zodiac will have any problems dismantling your combo board. But if you're facing something like Adamantimator or VW, Zodiac has an exponentially harder time at cracking that board if they say don't open up enough hand traps, don't open up the correct hand traps, that sort of deal. Quick touch up on top 4 for regarding this specific list. We've got Stevie, who is playing, of course, pure Zodiac. Obviously, this is just a very standard Zodiac list, very similar to Bowden's, maybe just a couple of ratios changed. And overall, this is very much similar to the overall game plan of you're playing a control deck that plays a shit ton of hand traps. Like, what else is there to really say? Obviously, this deck is pretty good, and I managed to lose to it, unfortunately, in top 8, because game 1 I took the Maxi challenge and lost very badly, and then game 2 I bricked, but it didn't really matter, because they had Maxi Ash Blossom. Very cool. Here in top 4, we also have Drytron. Drytron is an extremely powerful deck in best of ones, just because the combos that it's able to go into when you're not able to always consistently see hand traps in games 2 and 3, and you're sort of just relying on that opening enough hate to stop Drytron isn't always possible. Drytron has extremely high consistency due to having cards such as triple Ben 10, triple prep, all that sort of stuff. Drytron is just this unstoppable force when it gets the ball rolling, especially in a best of one format. However, this deck did fall to fucking floodgates. Like, oh boy, I sure love Eldritch. Ooh, flip Deekaboo. Ooh, fucking suck some cock. Overall, Drytron represents another spectrum of the combo board that is really, really unfair, where Adamantipator is sort of setting up a Scythe lock. Drytron is setting up 6 Omni Negates because they're able to cycle so many fairies through their hand with cards such as Ava, Ben 10s, Herald. It is just really, really powerful stuff. And unless you're opening stuff like Forbidden Droplets or Dark Ruler in a War in order to stop the Drytron board, which I personally metagamed for, you are going to have a very, 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 very bad time if you don't open these specific answers to stopping the Drytron board. You ever look at a list and just wonder if this person might have been like, you know, an escaped war criminal? We've got Lay Jimmy's 2nd place Eldritch Zombie World Stun list. This list is a... I don't even know what to fucking say. I don't even know how to describe this list. It's got a lot of cool stuff going for it. Zombie World is an extremely oppressive floodgate which manages to turn all monsters on the field and graveyard into zombies, and neither player can tribute summon monsters outside of zombie monsters. This can be relevant in very specific instances, such as, say, like against True Draco, but the sort of DNA surgery aspect is where things really, really get hairy. Because what's Dragon Link or Tri-Brigade gonna do when they're all zombies? Obviously, Zombie World being a very powerful floodgate in itself, alongside a Doom King Balodrock package, one of the most pushed boss monsters of all time, combined with literally every single stupid fucking floodgate that I have ever seen. This shit goofy. This shit real goofy. And finally, we have Virtual World. Virtual World is absolutely one of the craziest decks to come out of Master Duel, but it is not an unbeatable deck. Virtual World obviously has a ton of tools gifted to it, most specifically VFD. True King of All Calamities is an absolute house against literally every deck except, I think, exactly Eldritch. Eldritch has a pretty good matchup against it if they're managing to set cards like Torrential Strike, but unfortunately we weren't really seeing a lot of Torrential Strike. We're seeing more floodgates targeted to hit specific combo decks such as Adamantipator with cards like Rivalry of the Warlords, blah 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 blah. You get the idea. And unfortunately for the Eldritch player, should have just drawn better because VW managed to take it. Cards like Zuche are very easily able to out the continuous floodgates as well as face-up cards on the field, stuff like Eldland and Zombie World. Cards like Virtual World QB Shen is able to just completely turn off the recursive engine of Eldritch as well as continually recycle itself, the same way Eldritch is able to, but unfortunately is cut off due to the Shen Shen lock. There's also a lot of really dumb shit that Eldritch just kind of can't beat. It's mainly just Shen Shen. Like, I don't really know how to explain this outside of Shen Shen and VFD basically can just beat 99% of the meta. However, there is a sort of catch. Forbidden Droplets is a card that I think I'm going to be seeing a lot more into the metagame after this tournament, because Forbidden Droplets is able to answer so many boards. So the Drytron board, Adamancipator boards to an extent if you're able to remove the Buster Lock, and even the VFD and Shen Shen board. However, if they've got Zuche up, you guys are just playing a completely different game, because Zuche popping your own VFD in order to dodge said Forbidden Droplet is obviously something that you guys want to keep in mind. So, what are my major takeaways regarding this event? I'm not gonna lie, guys. Best of 1 format is the fucking shit. I could just sack my way to the top, and ultimately, best of 1 format is obviously not the best when it comes to tournament play. However, Master Duel doesn't really have a side deck, option. You can maybe play this the way how Hearthstone does Conqueror, where you bring 3 separate decks to an event, and obviously you try and play it out with those in a best of 3. But obviously sometimes this is just the reality of Master Duel tournaments currently. We kind of just have to play best of 1s, and I'm personally fine with that. I really like best of 1s and how they really speed up the overall tournament experience when people aren't playing fucking Zodiac mirrors. But overall, really great experience. For best of 1 formats, I would really lean into probably pure Zodiac if you want to just beat combo decks, or just combo decks if you want to beat everything else and just sort of sack your way to victory like I did. I would highly recommend Zodiac for the future, Eldritch Stun, Virtual World, Adamancipator, and I guess Drytron. Drytron's kind of like fading out as people realize that it's kind of just like a worse Adamancipator, or just like a worse, combo deck. But yeah, overall, these are my thoughts. Be sure to go check out Swag Kage down below. He has like literally 1,000 times more subscribers than I do. But overall, a great event run by a great person. And yeah, that's about it. Take it easy.